Hey, good morning. And it is morning. Monday morning. Uh, Martin Luther King Day, January 20th, 2020. Also, the Virginia Lobby Day and Second Amendment, I don't want to say protests, but protests taking place in Richmond, Virginia, which triggered the reason for me to do this video. It's not a rant. It's a subject that I've talked about before, and it's the notion. Let's go to the Second Amendment. Second Amendment says you have a right to keep and bear arms. Arms have nothing to do with guns. Arms have to do with weapons. Weapons. Weapons are intended to kill people. Weapons are intended to administer the ultimate force in self defense, and that is deadly force. So let's not get that twisted. Let's stop mealy mouthing around what arms means and the people keeping and bearing arms means. It means the people, you and I, having the ability to administer lethal force in our defense or defense of the country, loved ones, and so forth. And it has nothing to do with guns. Guns just happen to be the ultimate standoff weapon so that we don't have to get all messy and bloody with swords and axes and those kinds of things. Okay? So now that I cleared that up, let's talk about what it means. What happens when I see someone open carrying a fixed blade knife? I go, oh, right? And a whole bunch of things go through my head. Not one of them is fear, by the way, but it is, all right, that person is armed. That person uh, has the ability to deliver lethal force in their defense. That person is not someone to be trifled with unless you want something to be escalated. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, so when you see that, you go, that person is able to administer lethal force. Therefore, that person is armed and dangerous, but only dangerous if you screw with them in the wrong way within the law. In other words, you do something that the law says that person can administer lethal force. Um, the same is true with a gun. If I see someone with open carrying a firearm, I go, oh, and I know the same thing. That person is going about their business, and the message is, uh, don't don't get froggy, don't get stupid. That's what the message is. So when someone wants to disarm you, like the anti-gun, which isn't really anti-gun, it's anti-self-defense. They do not want citizens to be able to defend themselves with lethal force outside the home. Why is that? Why is that? It's because a person who sees another person who is armed and they become afraid, or they'll use the word, and you'll hear it a lot, intimidated. What does that mean? They're only intimidated because the message being sent says, don't be stupid. And the person feeling intimidated wants to be stupid, but now knows that they have to behave themselves. And they don't want to behave themselves. Uh, so you see where I'm going with this? People who are intimidated by seeing another person who is going about their business, and that other person is armed, whether with a blade or something else that they can see, they feel intimidated because what they want to do is interact with that person in such a way that would communicate that they are a threat to that person. Okay? That's why law enforcement is so terrified of public protests and counter protests where one or the other or both of the groups are in fact armed, which is their legal right. Why? Because the cop's job is to stand in between them to keep them from hurting each other. Now, what they want to do in Richmond is disarm the entire state if they could, leaving only law enforcement as the people that have weapons, in this case, guns, and some have knives. So when you see a cop, what's the first thing you do? First thing I do, I don't look at the badge. I look down and see the gun. Then I look up and I see whatever else is going on with that person. It's just our nature. Our nature. So we need to be honest about if we're going to advocate for having the ultimate weapon, and let's not get this one screwed up. Guns were designed to kill people first. They weren't designed to hunt first. Every gun was designed as a weapon to be used against another person in defense of yourself or your country or your loved ones. That's just the way it is. And the reason individuals in America have that right is so we can use that force in defense of ourselves, our loved ones, and our country. We are armed and dangerous, and frankly, I'm proud of it. So if there's anyone who is intimidated by the fact that we, Second Amendment folks, are armed, that only tells me that they want to misbehave. They want to do something egregious to us, and that is exactly what's happening in Virginia. And that is why the governor and the Democrats in that state are terrified that something was going to go wrong, and that's why they wanted to disarm the people. It's not about the safety of the people, it's about the safety of themselves. So what do? They put a fence around the Capitol grounds, and they saturate the interior with cops with guns. And then they search everybody else to make sure that they don't get in with weapons. So who gets to have the ultimate power when it comes to the use of deadly force? Well, the cops do. Why? They're there to protect those stupid people who want to disarm the rest of the state of Virginia, right? It is not true that most Virginians want to disarm people. It is only true that those who wish to misbehave, do something egregious, know that they want those people, us, to be disarmed. They no longer want us to be able to defend ourselves. They no longer want us to be armed and dangerous so that they can, I say, misbehave, so that they don't feel intimidated. They can do what they want with us, right? So I'm going to close with, when I hear somebody say, well, I'm intimidated, I immediately say, well, what is it that you want to do to me that causes you to feel that way? Because I certainly am not intimidated by you, and I'm certainly not going to do anything to you, because number one, that's against the law. However, if you do something to me that's within the law, then I'm going to shoot you in the face. So understand that. That is what openly carrying a weapon, especially a firearm, means. And folks that want to infringe on that are afraid. And they should be. And they should be, right? Because I will tell you that if the Supreme Court of the United States does not rule that our Second Amendment right extends outside the home, if they don't rule that way, then you will see many, many more Virginias happen. And it's just not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. So I'm going to close with that. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the content. Hit the bell so that you get notified, and carry on, especially if you're in Virginia.